With Castle, I'm home every night. Like I said, it's very nice. Company where you're not just a number. Everyone knows everyone.
Most pilots don't understand what career opportunities are available in the world of aviation. They're making career decisions based on advice from friends or posts on internet forums, meaning they're taking huge risks with their livelihood without having all the details. This podcast was created to help you understand the aviation industry so you can find your dream job. Let's get ready for Pushback. Here's your host and my dad, Nick Fialka.
Hey, pilot, what's up? It's Nick. Welcome to Ready for Pushback. We are ready to talk to Brandon Morton from Castle Aviation. They're Part 135 carrier. They do mostly cargo. They do some passenger ops, but mostly cargo. And they fly Saabs and beach jets and caravans and cool stuff like that. I think this is a super interesting company. I think you're going to get a lot of really good information from Brandon, and it might open your horizon a little bit if you have never heard of that company. There are so many great organizations out there looking for pilots, and Castle is certainly one of them. So sit back and relax, enjoy the episode, and if you do, send me an email, podcast@spitfireelite.com. I would love to hear from you. You got a question, you got a comment, you have an episode, an interview that I should do, you have a question, you have a comment, you know of a person I should interview, let me know. I would love to hear about it. Send me an email. I talk to everybody. I would love to hear from you. So enjoy the episode. And last but not least, let's have a quick word from our sponsors, because without them, we wouldn't have this awesome podcast. Hey, pilot, it's Nick. I want to tell you about a great friend of the show, Timothy P. Pope. He's a financial planner, and he's completely focused on the professional pilot. He's the kind of guy you want to go to for real talk to help you figure out your financial future. With so many upgrades and so many transitions and so many things going on, you owe it to yourself to give him a call. He'll help you design and execute really smart financial planning strategies, whether it's retirement planning, investment management, military transition, tax planning. He's a great financial planning partner. Timothy P. Pope, CFP, helping professional pilots make the most out of life. Give him a shout. All the information's in the show notes. You should definitely tell him I told you to call. All right, we've got a big treat for us. Welcome to another edition of Ready for Pushback. I am with my man, Brandon Morton from Castle Aviation, Assistant Chief Pilot. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for spending time to add value to the pilot that's listening, that's wondering what Castle's all about. So can you start off and kick it off with laying out what Castle is and help the pilot who's ready to find you and put in an application? Like, what's it all about?
Yeah, so Castle Aviation is a 135 cargo company. So we dabble a little bit more in cargo than we do passenger. Doesn't mean passenger operations are completely out. We operate our C208 caravans, and we operate Saab 340s. And the newest addition is our beach jet. But we also can't leave out, we have our Aerostars as well. We do wide view of operations where we've done organ flights, we've done different medevac flights. Instead of just organs, we've done packages, we've done transporting puppies, we've done transporting little chicks. So we've done a wide range of it where we've gone from coast to coast, from top to bottom, there, here, everywhere. So Castle Aviation is definitely a wide range company of not just cargo that you would expect, oh, they're just throwing boxers. We've done, like I said, puppies, chicks, delicate, fragile. We've transported instruments for large bands. We've done multiple different occasions where you don't get that normal operation that you see in your 121 world where everything is scheduled. 135 world, nothing's really scheduled. It doesn't mean you're not going to fly the same time every day, because we do have routes that go every single day at the same time. You're expected to be there, here, and over there, same time every day.
So you got the routes that you're flying day in and day out, but also like that unscheduled operations, which I mean, who doesn't want to fly a bunch of puppies?
Exactly.
Are you holding the puppies and the chicks together while you...
No, unfortunately, you're not. We haven't done the puppies in a while just because our busy season, everything's coming off. We're getting new customers coming in that overlap, and we are seeing, okay, we work better with this newer customer than with this older customer.
So everything's kind of changes over. And that's the good part about like keeping you on your toes.
Exactly.
You're going to be flying all sorts of different stuff.
Yep.
That's super fun.
Yeah.
And now, where are you guys located?
In Akron, Canton, Ohio.
Akron, Canton. Beautiful.
Yep.
Beautiful mountain.
Something like that, right?
Something like that. But you will be doing de-ice.
Yes, absolutely. De-ice is part of our procedures.
That's great. Man, that's cool. So you said you've got the Saab, you've got the Caravan, you've got the Beach Jet, and
the Aerostar.
And the Aerostar. Yep. Not to be confused with the J-Stars, which is a big Air Force jet. Slightly.
Just a little bit.
So are you hiring all different types of pilots?
Yep, all different types. We're hiring Caravan captains, Saab captains, SICs, the Beach Jet SIC and PIC, all types.
You've got two different types of like captain you're hiring for, right? Like a VFR only and an IFR.
Correct. VFR is kind of us reaching out to the lower time pilots, offering them a position where they can access that kind of first real job outside of instructing. Mm-hmm. Offer them, hey, this is a handout from us. Here's a VFR captain position where we're looking for a pilot that is right around 700 hours. And we bring them on, they fly routes for us, build up that time. And then once they hit 1,200 hours, which is the hiring minimum for an IFR captain, we can give them another check ride because all our check rides for the Caravans and Aerostars are in-house. We can schedule those check rides for them and get them over to an IFR captain. They have no restrictions. They can be flying there, here, everywhere.
Awesome. And then with the Saabs, there's an SIC at 500 hours?
Correct. 500 hours total time.
Total time 500, and PIC, like for a captain position, is 2,000 hours.
Yep, right around 2,000. We like to see that because then they have some more experience. Because a Saab, being a Saab pilot myself, it's not an easy aircraft to fly. It's definitely not the hardest out there, but it's still that you got very complex systems. You have two massive engines, and you are flying a 30,000 pound aircraft.
So 2,000 hours, do they already need to have their ATP, CTP?
No, we don't require an ATP, CTP. So if they do, then yeah, they can, if they have the course done and then the written done, when they go down for training, like I did myself, I was able to just use my check ride in the Saab as my ATP check ride. Okay,
cool. So you can have the course knocked out, which I have my own opinions on how big of a waste it is. But Mother FAA wants you to do, I guess you got
exactly.
And so, yeah, I'm going to do a whole episode about how mine was just a huge mess of time. Anyway. So you get that done, and then once you get checked out in the aircraft, like they'll double sign you off because it's just a click of a button. That's a big score. It is. Yeah, for sure. What kind of person? Everything's flown out of Ohio. So do you have to live in the?
Yeah, you have to live within an hour's drive of the aircraft, of the airport, not aircraft.
Okay. And do you guys have your own area that you're leaving from, or do you work out of the FBO? How does that?
Yeah, we have our own company, our own building, our own hangars. Everything is operated. We have our own maintenance. Everything is operated under Castle Aviation.
So if somebody is interested and they're coming up on those hours and they're thinking, man, living in Ohio sounds like a really good gig, what kind of life are we talking about? Are we talking they're going to bang out close to 1,000 hours in a year? Are they going to do 200 hours in a year on the other side?
Definitely not the 200 hours a year. It fluctuates. So with it not being a 121 program, it definitely fluctuates. Like I said, sometimes we have busy months, sometimes not so busy months, which is fine. The 121 carriers have the same exact thing. It's just they are scheduled. So those flights go out no matter what. Versus with these, it's more beneficial for the pilots Because if this flight doesn't go out, guess what? We can repurpose those guys. So we can fly them more than what they could be doing. So it definitely depends all on the pilot, their availability and stuff. If they say, hey, I want you to fly me every single day until I time out, guess what? We're going to fly you every single day until you time out. So that is definitely the benefit of us being a 135 is we have the opportunity to do that.
Got it. And you have the capacity with
planes, people, everything.
So great opportunity for getting your hours, great opportunity for seeing the sights of Ohio. Yeah. And so as I'm flying, is this like, are these out and back trips? Am I home every night?
I can't say you're home every night, but I will say when I was flying the line and not being in the management position, I was home, I would say 85% of the time, every single night, if not all the way up to 95%. I really wasn't gone away from my home a whole lot. But when we were doing longer trips, like the Saabs, you'll see trips will be gone for like a week, 2 weeks, where we're out in Texas just picking up trips left and right, which is great money making deal right there because you get paid for being overnight. You get paid your per diem. You get paid min miles every day that you are away from base. And so it's a great money making scenario when you are away.
Yeah. Now you bring up a really interesting point because your pay is different. The way your company does their pay is different than most people.
Correct. So the pay for Castle is you get a base salary per your position. So no matter what, you won't get paid under that for your paycheck. So you are guaranteed that amount per your paycheck. Then everything that you actually fly is on top of it. So you get paid per mile. So we'll take a scenario for like, because I know the Saab best. It's $1,600 base pay. And then you get your mileage pay on top of it when you're flying. So
how do you keep track of your miles?
Our system that we have built for all of our pilots, it keeps track. It tells you, okay, this leg is this many miles. This is what you're expected to get paid for this leg, so on and so forth.
So I can't like, go on Google Maps and get a new circuitous route.
Exactly. So unfortunately, we can't. That would be beneficial to many people, but the company.
One day, me and you will.
Exactly. So yeah, it's definitely confusing at first, but once you sit down with one of our HR people and they have you sit down and explain it to you, honestly not. And it's a more incentive for you to pick up bigger trips. Once you pick up bigger trips, you get overnight, you get paid more. So there's multiple incentives on top of it, everything that you do.
All right. So you're a young guy, but you're assistant chief at this airline. Talk to me about your path, right? That's super.
Okay. So my path where I started flying in and out of Erie with Edinburgh University. Once I got my CFI, I was just like, I was started teaching and I wasn't getting that many hours up in great Erie, PA.
You got to find, that's why.
Yep. So that's exactly what I did. I moved down to Florida. I applied for a position, Florida Flyers Flight Academy, and 30 minutes later got a call and said, hey, you're hired. I got paid to relocate everything. Yeah. As a CFI, I was like, this is great. I'm living on top of the world. Moved down there and I got over 1,000 hours in a year. I then left there and went to SkyWest Airlines. Went to SkyWest, then COVID hit. And so that kind of threw a wrench in the plans. And so I applied to Castle Aviation and...
How did you find Castle?
Indeed. Yep.
Oh, no kidding.
Yep, we're on Indeed. Yeah. So I went on there and I was applying for every position I saw. I was just like, boom, boom, boom. And so a couple months later, after they went through everything and COVID was kind of dying down, they reached back out to me. And they're just like, hey, this is what we're offering. Could you do an interview? And I said, yes. I got on with Castle. I did my check ride. After the check ride, a week later, the chief pilot called me in and they were just like, do you want a position flying the Metroliner? Because we used to have a Metroliner. And I was just like, I don't know what that is, but yes. And so I went down to flight safety. I got certified in that, and we went on. I flew that until December of 2021, and we got rid of the Metroliner. And I said, hey, can I be put into the Saab? They signed me on with the Saab, and I've been flying the Saab. And like I said in our previewing, that we had our chief pilot leave, and I threw my name in the hat, and they accepted it. And I was like, okay. And so then that's how I got into the position of the assistant chief at Castle Aviation.
Yeah, that's super cool. So a couple quick questions. When you were at SkyWest, where were you?
I was still in training, so I hadn't quite moved, but I was planning on moving to Denver, Colorado.
Okay, got it. Listen, all you young guys in like everything
Yep.
in a backpack, and you're like, it's in training, so it's kind of living.
Yeah, exactly. I had everything I owned in the suitcase, and that's where I moved to. I was living out of a hotel, out of a suitcase for 2.5 months until training got cut.
Listen, I can live out of any hotel. I've lived in every box around the world there ever has been. But when my family moves, we fill up a whole moving truck. For those of you who are thinking about having a family, consider the price tag to move a family somewhere. So listen, that flexibility, right? Like the guys in the 21.5 podcast, they always say flexibility is the key to air power. And that right there, man, like that is you crushing it because you're able to be flexible. Like are you from Ohio? Right. Exactly.
So when I got this position, I told my wife, I was like, hey, I got this position. And she was like, all right, well, I guess we're moving. And she got on with the Cleveland Clinic, and we moved instantly.
That's good. And that, man, gosh, we could talk all day long about that too, about the beauty of like your spouse being able to agree like, hey, this is what's best for us.
Exactly.
Do this thing. Living where your job is such a stress relief, especially like for those of you going to go to SkyWest or Republic or wherever you're going to go. If you're going to live outside of base because you are from some town and wherever, awesome. But those of you that can move to that place, it is so like life is just
yeah, it absolutely is.
All right. Now here's a question we didn't talk about in the pre-show call. Is you have this sweet beard. Can I wear a beard when I'm
You can. You absolutely can have a beard when flying at Castle.
Hell yeah. Let's go.
The owner of the company actually has a sweet long handlebar mustache that he twists up.
Oh my gosh.
Nah.
I lived in Africa for a while and I had one of those mustaches and it was miserably hot keeping that. I had to wax it and it like melted. Man. All right. So at Castle, right, we are an organization that is flying unscheduled routes. So what does it look like? Everybody's got a schedule. What does this scheduled route look like when you're on an unscheduled operation? Like, how does that work?
So the scheduled route that I put in quotations, because it can change, pretty much looks like you leave at 5 every night and you're home by 1 a.m. every night.
Okay.
So we take a Saab. The general routes that usually go, sometimes the customer calls and say, hey, we need a Caravan or an extra Saab at this location. Can you make that happen? And 9 times out of 10, we can. But we have a Saab that goes from Canton to Indianapolis up to Hamilton, Canada.
Nice.
Then they get back in the plane once everything's unloaded and they head back home, and we clear customs back here in Canton, Ohio. And that's usually all right around 1 a.m. that you are returning back home.
Got it. So you're flying your second shift and a little bit into third shift.
Exactly. So that is the thing, is you're home during the day. It's just you are going to be flying into the night hours. That's what cargo is you're flying night hours.
Yeah, for sure.
That's when everything moves, is night hours of us moving to get the next day's stuff there so they can ship out and have the ground move it during the day.
Yeah. How about when you are going down to Texas and stuff like that? Does that just pop up and you give somebody?
Usually what happens with the Texas routes is we decide whether or not, like, hey, do we want to have a Saab in this area for a week? Yes or no? And it's depending on what we are planning for the rest of the week. Can we afford to take that Saab off the line, put it somewhere else to make us more? And usually we'll send it down with a crew down somewhere in Texas, somewhere down south. They'll get there and we're planning trips by the time they're heading down there. So they will be, sometimes they'll go from Texas up to Colorado over to Indiana, and back down to Texas. So those are big route changes, a bunch of money hours coming into the pilot, coming into the company. And so with trips like that, everyone's fighting for those trips.
Yeah, it makes good sense.
Yeah.
Sounds like it really, really keeps you busy. So
it does. You're definitely busy when you're here at Castle.
All right. So my question to you is, why do you like it?
I like it. One is I've been flying since I was 17 years old. And I've experienced on the road, constantly going, living out of a suitcase. And with Castle, I'm home every night. Like I said, it's very nice. It's a company where you're not just a number. Everyone knows everyone. And yes, we are growing. We're growing tremendously. But we still know we went from a 15-man operation up to 75 people, including our dispatch, our vice president, everyone involved. It's turned into a big company and it just continues. We're just continuing growing.
Well, I definitely think you would make a great vice president here one day, because hopefully your CEO is listening to this, twisting his mustache.
Yeah.
And loving it. Awesome, man. So if somebody is interested in learning about Castle Aviation and all that good stuff, where can they go to find out? Do they need to go to Indeed?
They can go to Indeed. They can look us up.
Yeah.
And you can go on our website and click apply, and you can apply to the job. You type in your name, upload your resume, and boom, it gets sent directly to our Castle careers people, and they handle it. And they bring it forth to us. And that way, your next steps after that, if it makes it through the filtering process, is going to be talking to our recruiter, which then will put you towards my direction. And you'll be talking one-on-one with me. That's a great thing with Castle, is you're talking to everyone throughout your entire hiring stage.
So what kind of things are you looking for when they make it all the way to you, right? You're the final boss before Mario Brothers here. What are they looking for?
So, obviously we're looking for not very many failed check rides. That's a big no-no.
For sure.
We want to keep it under 3 failed check rides.
Okay.
So 3 is the max. Anything over that,
don't waste your time.
Special scenarios.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Which comes back to networking, ladies and gentlemen that are listening. And if you have multiple failed check rides and you still want a job at Castle, why not get in front of Brandon and his team?
Yep, absolutely. But we're looking for our times that we need for the aircraft. And we're looking for someone that goes out above and beyond, is sitting there and saying on their resume, hey, this is what I've done. This is where I'm going. This is what you guys could benefit from me. And we look for that. And with people that stand out, have good hours, good company, repertoire, everything like that. Because even as a former CFI, looking at what you did as a CFI is still a major accomplishment, because not everyone goes through CFIing.
Yeah, for sure. I talk to a ton of people. They're like, should I get it or should I not get it? That's absolutely.
Yeah.
So think back to the past few resumes that you've looked at. Pick something that really stood out. You're like, oh man, that's a cool thing. That's an interesting thing. What is a thing that stands out to somebody like you?
The one resume that I was just I was taken back by, I was like, wow, this person, we got to have him, was a military person.
Okay.
Surprise. And she was a commander of special operations. Obviously people like that, that's not every day, but that was one of the instances where I was like, wow.
Yeah.
I picked up the phone and I called her. I was like, what can we do for you?
Found a unicorn, huh?
Yeah, we found a unicorn. But for things for like the average, like for myself, the average Joe, the person that wasn't there standing out, we're just looking for more or less you going above and beyond on your resume of saying, hey, this is what I did as a CFI. I passed 8 out of the 10 people. I was able to get these people through their courses accelerated. And that's a CFI. As a guy that wasn't a CFI or a girl that wasn't a CFI, we look for, hey, are you part of any, what do you want to call them?
The organizations?
Organizations, yes.
Yes. Man.
Little things like that stick out to us. And with little things like that, guess what? It's not just sticking out to us. It's sticking out to multiple people. Are you part of Women's in Aviation?
Mm-hmm.
Are you part of AOPA or stuff like that?
Are you helping in a cause greater than yourself?
Exactly.
Yeah. That's so good, man. That is so good.
Yeah.
I think that's the big takeaway here is, on your resume, it's your chance to brag a little bit, but it's also just when you look at a resume, you can see how much people care and how much people try and how they want.
Exactly.
And joining those organizations, man, I'm a member of a ton of them. And I've got my dream job. I'm loving it. And they're important to me. And the pilot helping pilots is important. That's why we're doing this podcast, right? We're trying to help pilots.
Exactly.
So do that. Man, this is so good, Brandon. Dude, thank you so much for spending your time with us. Thank you for giving that value to the pilots. I will take all of your information, all the Castle Aviation information, and I'll put it in the show notes so that people can reach out. And
absolutely,
hopefully lots of them start reaching out and telling you, hey, we listen to the Ready for Pushback podcast and we love Ohio. Let's go. Let's go Cavs.
Exactly. And a little tidbit for like all of our new coming people is that Castle in the next year, we are expanding. We're putting on an 80,000 square foot hangar that we're building, and we're putting on more ramp space. So for some people that are out there just like, what are you expanding? We're expanding that. We are expanding the company. We are opening opportunities for us to be managing more jets than just the one that we have now. So it's definitely a thing for people to be a part of, because if you're part of the beginning roots of a big upcoming company, guess what? You're going to make it a long way.
Yeah, for sure. Man, you always run into those people, especially at the conventions, who have been like, hey, I've been at this company for 45 years. I came in and there was a helicopter that you had to pedal or some kind of
Exactly.
We didn't have electricity in the FBO, but we still did flying. And here, look at us now, we've got 500 aircraft. So get in early and stake your claim for sure, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Brandon, dude, thank you so much for spending time with us. I really appreciate it. It was a ton of value for the pilot. So thank you, my man.
No problem. Thank you.
Hey, before you jump out of here and go on to the next podcast, can I ask a big favor? Would you mind going over to your app that you're listening to this podcast on and give me a review? Give me a 5-star review if you love it. Give me a 1-star review if it totally sucks. Put a comment in there, something that is helpful. It helps me. It helps get the word out there. It helps people find the podcast, and that's super cool. If you don't do that, maybe you could just share the podcast with a friend. Tell a buddy who's trying to figure it out, trying to sort out this pilot dream of theirs and get a little bit further. That is super awesome as well. Last, if you don't do either of those two things, how about this? Find a way today to make yourself 1% better. Do that thing that you've been putting off. Put your foot forward, make movement, get yourself going, get that inertia that you need to succeed in this industry. So that's your choice. Leave a review, tell a friend, or make yourself better. Either way, it's all a good choice. And I'm super stoked you're listening, and I will see you on the next episode. The statements made on this show are my own opinions and do not reflect, nor are they under any direction from my employer.